All right, before we get the show started, I have to give a huge shout out to a special group of individuals that I like to call my Patreon podcast producers. And you know what? They're all on Instagram, so make sure you give them a follow. Daryl at Your Level Fitness, Caitlin at Caitlin Elise, put 3 Y's in her name, Crystal at Reduced Fat Mama, Joey at Joey Losing Weight, Vanessa at Vanessa Ray's Journey, and Amanda at Mutts_and_Miles. These guys are helping this show to move forward in a huge, huge way. And if you want to join this special group of individuals, make sure you stay tuned at the very end of the show for more details. Are you Team Apple? I got to shout out all of you checking out this show right now on an iPhone, iPad, etc. In fact, nearly 70% of you are listening to me on one of these devices. It would mean the world to me if you took a moment to leave a review. This is one of the best things that you can do for this podcast to help get the word out. And while you're at it, leave reviews for some of your other favorite shows. I bet they would really dig it.
Yo!
How are you, dude?
Good, how you been?
I've been really good, man.
Yeah, you have. It's been so long.
I know.
It's like a fucking ghost, man. Holy shit.
I came prepared for today, I'll have you know.
Nice. Oh! Oh, man.
Dude.
Gosh.
It's old. It's like 19 years old. I feel really old now.
That's fucking amazing. I have none of that stuff. Actually, I'm lying. I have one orange hoodie of ours, but like, as far as clothing goes,
I remember I actually was digging up some old photos, and I remember you used to have this red and yellow shirt. It was like a red with a yellow text on it. It had this logo on it. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, that's way.
That's
You're
before
taking
my
me to
time.
a place right now. Yeah,
that's actually before my time. I came in around. This would have been, I want to say, May or June of 2000. You guys were playing a show in College Park at St. Andrews, which was locally here one of the best places to see a show. Jamie Arthurs used to run those shows.
Jamie Arthurs was our manager.
Yeah, he was. And this was a show. It was Goaty Hook, Stave Saker, you guys, and
Stave Saker.
Yeah, dude.
Whoa.
I got to tell you though, I was my cousin Larry, as you remember, he was the one that kind of got me into this quote unquote scene of music. Yeah, I love that guy. And he told me, let's go to the show. Let's just go check it out. Cause he was a big Goaty Hook guy at the time. And I think they were actually from Virginia, if I remember correctly. And
I remember that name, Goaty Hook.
Yeah. They were, I want to say they were based out of Fairfax. I could be wrong on that, but I had a keyboarding class with Seth from Over It. And he said, dude, I'm going to the show
himself.
Ghoul.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And he says to me, there's this band playing tonight. They're called the Stryder. And you must see them. Like, make sure you get there early to see them. And I took those words to heart because anytime he recommended anything to me, I was all in. I was all ears. And so we went to the show and we saw you guys play, and it just blew me away.
Wow.
I was hooked. I was hooked. But
that's awesome.
What I didn't know, what I would find out later in my fandom, was that you were actually in a band before the Stryder called Yearly.
She loved to get it up there. She loved to get it up there.
Yes, sir.
With Pete, with Eben. It was kind of weird. I was digging.
That's where we know Over It from.
That's how you know them?
We used to play shows. Yeah, we started playing shows with Over It. Like, it's weird. We were a band, and we would just, it was like we'd rehearse in the basement and then have shows in Virginia. I don't know how. I don't know. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, because our old friend of ours, Justin Goodman, he was our first manager. He was like this older gentleman that we went to school with, and he was like super cool. And and he knew everybody from like the so-called hardcore scene.
Right.
Like he was really into that because I guess he was going to shows and stuff before us. But I think he hooked us up with someone down there, and yeah, we would just have these like one-off weekend shows with Over It.
Yeah,
and they were I fucking love. Let me tell you something. Like,
please.
and I'm sure you know, Over It. It's weird, man, because like I'm from like the era of like it's not necessarily pre-internet, but it's like it wasn't in everybody's house or something. It's weird. Sure. Like, you know how like you see everything now, like something happens, it gets uploaded
instantly.
We were pre-upload era. Like there was no uploading like when we were in these bands. So what was I talking about?
Over It.
Right. So I was just like, well, I was just trying to say like they were just an amazing band. We used to listen to a lot of Fat Record stuff, and like they sounded like the closest thing to it, like with that really fast pop punk stuff, very musically inclined. Like,
yeah.
Amazing.
What did you have a favorite Over It song or an album by chance?
Here's the thing with Over It.
Yeah.
I think the Stryder had already broken up by the time they started releasing albums.
They had like one full length in 2000 that they toured on, but they didn't put out their next full length until like 02 and 03. So yeah, around that time.
Yeah. Around that time. So I did have some favorite Over It songs, but I probably haven't listened to Over It since then. You know what I mean? It's all that stuff is just like compartmentalized. Like you like looking at that hoodie, talking about Larry and Seth, like
yeah, way back.
I gotta like dig this shit out. You know what I mean? Like it's fucking amazing.
Let's dig it out, man. Whatever you want to dig out, we'll dig. I'll start riffing on some stuff, and you let me know.
Riff away.
I remember that time, but I would later find out that you were in Yearly, and I on YouTube somebody has got Yearly's last show ever on YouTube.
Whoa.
Yeah, so I found this video.
Yearly's. Okay, I gotta find that.
Okay, I'll send you a link
because I know what show you're talking about. I used to have a VHS of that.
Yeah,
and like in '88, I lent it to someone, and
maybe they uploaded it. Maybe they put it up on YouTube.
Maybe they did. But I know exactly what show you're talking about. Yeah.
What I was fascinated to find out as I was watching this, it was about 35 minutes roughly. I heard some early version of Captain Obvious in there somewhere, and White Spiders in there somewhere.
Yep.
So was that stuff you guys were kind of working on towards the end of the band, or did that come even earlier?
So with White Spiders, parts and pieces of that song goes to a band prior to Yearly.
Oh, okay. So there's more. There's more than I don't even know.
Yeah. Because me, Peter, we used to be in a band called it was either Catch-22 or Cake Museum, but it's the same thing. But with this kid named Chris Glover. And that band broke up. He went on to go do he's known as Penguin Prison now. I don't know if you ever heard of Penguin Prison, but
I have not.
Super cool. Yeah. He's like his own scene. And Chris Glover was like this super talented kid. He was on Star Search.
Wow.
I forget who he lost to. It was somebody like pretty famous. I think he might know. Maybe Christina Aguilera or something like that. But anyways,
wow,
that band broke up. He went to go do his own thing. He got signed to like Interscope, and so then me and Peter, we formed Yearly with our friend Eben from Seacliff.
Right.
And it's so weird because like at some point or other, bands just started like sharing members. Like it's really like crazy. Like a lot of bands that you would never even think of have like history together. Like what is it, 7 Degrees of Separation?
Yeah.
Is like insane. It's fucking insane. But like, yeah, Eben got plucked by Saves the Day.
Yeah.
And those were the songs that we were working on as Yearly.
Wow.
So yeah,
just watching that video, it was interesting to see, coming from a Saves the Day fan, seeing Eben singing. Like that's not something I was used to seeing.
Dude, see, it's so funny. Yeah, Eben is like I've not, since I really think about it, like I've really been blessed to been like from like when I first started to wanting to be, playing in bands.
Yep.
I've been blessed with playing like the top of like the top of like musicians, and Eben was this kid that Peter introduced me to. that was from a town over called Seacliff, and he was just like this kid who just knew how to play the bass like I've never seen anybody play. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah.
he's scary, but he's like self-taught. You know what I mean? Like,
Those are the most dangerous people, Scotty. Those are the most
Yeah.
dangerous.
Tell me about it. But yeah, Eben was a singer and a bass player, and he's one of the goats. Eben is a goat, a true goat.
He is a goat, that's for sure. What have you still keep up with him? What's he up to?
I do. I believe Eben is a producer.
Oh, nice.
He produces like a lot of dope shit. Like I think like in the dances / hip hop / that world. Like I think like and forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what he's doing. And he's doing all right. He's still sick.
Nick from Over It is doing like producing and songwriting. I hear he's doing really well with that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Nick, one of the dopest guitar players ever.
No doubt.
Again, that going back to what I just said, like I've been blessed with like from like being in like my early bands, like being able to go to Virginia and running into a band like Over It, and like being like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like just top notch class A musicians, like really cool shit.
Oh, no doubt. So yearly breaking up, was that purely because Eben was going to Saves the Day?
Yes.
Okay.
Because we're only a 3-piece.
Yep.
And yeah, it was weird. So like yearly, it was more, we were into like not into, but like I guess you would say like we were into like we were put into like the emo kind of scene when that was kind of emerging like in its second wave or so.
Yep.
In Long Island. And so a lot of our shows, like our early shows were like we played like Promise Ring, Hot Water Music.
Oh yeah.
A couple of our first shows were with Saves the Day. That's where like we had that relationship.
Yep.
So yeah.
Nice. And how long were you guys together up until you broke up?
Yearly, I want to say was a band for maybe 2 years, if that.
Oh, okay.
Because it happened really fast. Because like that band that I was in with Chris and Peter, that broke up, and then I ended up meeting Eben through Peter, and we hung out a bunch, and then we started jamming, and then we just started getting shows.
Right.
Like I remember, like the transition from jamming to shows is just a blur. It was just like we got together, and then we started playing shows with all these crazy bands. I don't know if you ever heard of a band called Rookie Lot.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
They're
they were
from
on the
Long Island.
split with you guys.
That's brand new.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? And those were like our boys. Actually, Yearly's first show was in the backyard of a girl Peter used to date from Levittown. That's where all those guys are from, Rookie Lot and Brand New. They're all from like the Levittown, Merrick area.
Right.
Our first show was in her backyard with
Wow.
them. And that's how we all met each other. And then we ended up doing that split, like you just said. And then we started, yeah.
And I'm probably getting even a little bit ahead of myself, but when did you and Pete meet up?
Oh, God. Well, me and Peter literally, like, let's say if you lived here.
Yep.
And I lived, like, Peter lived down the street from me. So we grew up with each other pretty much. I used to live, like, it's weird. They're not projects. You know what I mean? But, like, I used to live on that side, and then we moved from there. And I ended up going down the hill and seeing a bunch of kids. And I knew one kid named JJ because he had family from where I was from. And I remember taking Peter's ball. And I think his mom yelled at me or something like that. But then we ended up becoming friends. And then the rest, as you say, is history. Like he had a drum set in his basement. It was made of paper. Yeah. And I remember his dad bought him a Gibson guitar. Can you imagine a Gibson guitar? He got a Gibson guitar at like 10.
Damn, those things aren't cheap either.
No, not at all.
I was an Epiphone guy, for the record.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, and it was huge on him, but he looked so cool with it. And I remember I was always fascinated with the drums, and so that's it. Like we just started banging, and he would just be strumming. And then another memory, a former boyfriend of his mom's had a place, I forget where it was, but he had a drum set in the basement.
Right.
And that, like, we just got in that fucking basement. I'm just whamming, and him and his sister are singing. And yeah, me and Peter, like, Peter's like technically my oldest friend. Like,
No
we
kidding.
grew up together. Yeah, we grew up together.
Was this the same white Gibson that he would go on to play at the shows I'd see?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow, that thing's got
Exactly,
history.
yeah.
That red strap.
It's got super history with that red clip-on strap. You're
Yep.
exactly right.
Mm.
Weird story. Peter lost that guitar in Virginia.
No shit.
It sat in a kitchen in Virginia for a year. And we ended up getting back down there as the Stryder. I think he lost it in Yearly. Yearly broke up. We blah blah blah. But yeah, we got back down there, and the people still had it, and was like, "We remember you. Here's a guitar." And it was crazy. Funny side, yeah. They had that guitar for like a year.
Get out. That's a crazy. He got like really lucky too.
Lucky is not the word. Yeah. Yeah.
And was that when you guys were jamming? Is that your first intro to drumming, or did you have something for that before that?
Yep.
That was your first.
I mean, technically, like, it's funny because like the transition, because like I used to play drums in my church when I was really young.
Yeah.
Just always being obsessed with music. It's funny. I got into music when my mom got cable, and the first time I put on the television, Guns N' Roses' Paradise City was on.
Nice.
And I was just like, like, what is this? Like, imagine seeing Paradise City. Like, if you know that video, it's like them in Wembley Stadium.
Yeah.
And it's like this swagged out singer and like this guitar player. I was just like, okay, I'm obsessed. I'm officially obsessed. And I got into them, played drums in church, and then moved over to where Peter lived and just started being obsessed with his drum set in his basement. Like, I literally just go over there to just play music with him. Like, I don't want to do anything else. You know what I mean? Like,
so at this point, you guys were like destined to collaborate together.
Yeah, definitely.
And then so the first band happens, Yearly happens, and then we get to the Stryder, right? There's nothing in between Yearly. Okay.
No. Yep.
And so how do you guys start like trying to recruit members like Nick and John? Like, how do you guys find those guys?
Again, I left a big chunk out.
Okay.
All these kids skateboarded.
Okay.
I didn't skateboard. I can't. I'm afraid of heights, and I think I was taught very young that's why I can't skateboard, because I'm afraid of heights. I can't bounce. So they would go skating over in this town called Great Neck, and that's where we met John. Eben was in that crew as well. These older high school girls, because Peter, he dated I believe he was a freshman and he was dating a senior, and she was like, her name is Mona, and she was just like low key. Excuse me, that's the thing about it. Mona got us into punk. Like, wow. They were just like these super cool girls. Like it was Mona, Jamie, Pauline. Like they were just like these older girls. Like for some reason that we just clicked with. And they were into like bands like Operation Ivy, Screech and Weasel. Yeah. And so from their skateboarding relationship and just from like being into that stuff, that's how like we started like manifesting, playing music together. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah. And it was through skateboarding.
And so you guys were just happened to be like, what, just one day hanging out with John and Nick and them? You found them over there?
So that's right. You were asking about the Stryder. So yeah. Nick also lived in Roslyn. Nick moved to Roslyn in high school when we were all in high school. This is around like 98, 97. And he was in a band with our friend Mikey called Fair Warning. And I don't know how Nick got into playing bass, but he played bass. And so we were just like, all right, it's almost ironic. Like they took Eben from us. So we're like, we're going to take Nick from Fair Warning. But
it's a fair trade.
Yeah, it's a fair trade, and God bless Nick, because having a bass player such as Eben, which is like, whoa, that's like essentially he was filling Eben's shoes. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And but like he came in and he held it down. Like, Nick became a very good musician. Right. Because he wasn't always so musically inclined, but that's one instance where I literally saw someone work, because he really wanted to play with us, you know what I mean? Yeah. And he worked himself into that role. So yeah, we got Nick because he moved to Roslyn, and John through Mona and those girls I was telling you about, they knew him, and I guess it's okay. So John used to drive us around to shows too. Okay. John was an older guy. Yeah. And you play music in the car, and we'd sing along to it, and John would be like, okay, John can sing. So like when it was time to like put the band together, it's like, yo, John looks cool. He's older. He's got the Jeep. You know what I mean? Let's go.
Slam dunk.
I mean? So yeah, seriously, like, yeah.
And so I guess, you know, it was the thought of, hey, we want to start something new. It'd be wrong to continue yearly with new people. We want to do an all new project.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's crazy because like, it was so daunting because like, again, yearly wasn't that old. So it literally was just like,
start all over. Right.
Yeah. You know, like, but we're going in, like, there's no more like, you know, like we're going to do this, you know what I mean? So yeah.
It's just all in. Let's go. Let's do it.
Fucking in. Like, let's go. Like, this is it. Like, we're pushing, you know?
Where do you get a name like the Stryder from? Where does that come from?
That, I don't know. I remember sitting at Peter's table.
Yep.
Deciding that we're going to do this. And Peter had a bunch of different names, but that was the name he came up with. And then I was like, done. Sounds cool. It was first called Stryder.
Right.
But there was another band, a Christian metal band that had that name, and we had to put the in the front of it.
There was also a band, Stryper, which I think gets confused a lot.
I'm sorry. That's the Christian metal band. Stryder was another band that was just, wasn't Stryper Christian metal?
I think so. I never listened to them because all I wanted to hear was the Stryder. I didn't give a rat's ass about Stryder or Stryper. I just wanted to hear the Stryder.
Right. Totally.
Yeah. But when you type Stryder into Apple Music, the two records that you guys put out come up, and then there's this other one. It's like a white cover and it's just Stryder. So they have them like lumped in together.
Right. I know. Yeah. That's cool. We're on Apple Music. I didn't even know that.
Yeah. All the stuff is on there except for obviously the Savor the Danger, which was an Elkion release that didn't make it. But the two, I guess probably equal vision. They were probably uploading their whole catalog on there.
Yeah.
So, cool. So you guys start up the Stryder now. As we mentioned earlier, you already had like White Stripes and Captain Obvious already kind of in progress. You kind of had those working out. What was another song or two that was like early on that was one of the first ones you guys started writing?
So it's funny. So a big part of so me and Peter decided we're going to do this band.
Yep.
Right. And I'm like, forgive me if I ramble, but like,
oh, you're fine.
I've never been interviewed before about this stuff, so like I just want to make sure it's on record that I get all of it out.
Dude, you're fine. This is a podcast, so talking is key. So talk your ass off if you need
to.
Gotcha.
Awesome. Okay. I got kicked out of Stryder when. Yeah. So here's the thing: me and Peter started Stryder, right? Yeah. At some point or other. Then this is when our friend Justin's managing us, and like I guess he's becoming business minded. Mm-hmm. Now mind you, Peter and all them, they like dressed like the Fonz in this era. Like they had like slick back hair, creeper shorts. Not shorts, shoes, and I dressed like a rapper. Yeah. So Justin was like, Scottie doesn't really fit the image of the band. Like if we're gonna like really become like a thing. We all have to be like unified. So like, I wasn't necessarily kicked out, but I was like, hey, we're gonna go play with like this other drummer. Yeah. So I'm like, okay. So they do that. In the meantime, I just start writing songs. I'm like, okay, like I wish I like if you guys really think like you can do better without me, by all means. But I'm just gonna be writing in the meantime. So they tried out some other kid. It didn't work. I come back in and I show him this song. It's weird, like, because again, we come from like this kind of emo-ish hardcore background, so it was like, and that song ended up being 11:11. I wrote 11:11 as was like Stryder. It might be Stryder's first song, and that song actually like got me back into the band. It's weird because even though I was X and not being in the band, like we still all hung out. So like we would like I remember one time we were out in Huntington and I was playing like the acoustic guitar. I was playing my friend Dan's acoustic guitar and I was just like doom doo 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 doo, like just totally just noodling around. But like it was like, yo, like that can be cool if like, you know, put together. And so that was Stryder's first song. Like that I wrote. Yeah.
And that's a song that was very prominent for you guys as we get, I know we'll get to this later, but like when the record came out, that was like the first one that EVR pushed.
That was on the sampler.
It was on the sampler with a different recording.
Yes.
It sounded way better.
That was weird. I'd see, that's the thing. I liked the EVR sampler recording, but what I didn't like was that this guy, Ray Martin, who ended up doing our last album. Yep. He did that song. And he triggered my snare drum because back in the day, I was just obsessed with high pitched snares. Yes. Like when I was in Yearly, I was obsessed with piccolo snares. Don't ask me why. Maybe it was because Snapcase was one of my favorite bands, and I remember he had a high pitched snare. I just love the way it sounded. So
I can still hear it in my ears, Scotty. By the way.
Yeah. Like pop, just pop, obsessed. Pop. Right.
Yeah.
And I recorded that song with a high pitched snare, and he fucking detuned it because like. Me and him would just butt heads about like what sounds good or whatever. So yeah, I hated that, but I love that recording of it. But just I cringe because that's just like, ugh,
well, I guess I mean when I listen to Masquerade, and again I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but when I listen to Masquerade, like it was recorded with Brian McTiernan, who's like a legend in the scene. It's a great fucking record. I mean,
can I just tell you how magical that was?
Okay,
so I'm in high school when we did that.
Yeah,
I think he might have a different studio, but back in the day he had a house studio. So the band would like stay like upstairs, and the studio was in the basement. So I had to take off 2 weeks of high school to go to DC, record the drums. It was just me and Nick. We did the drums, and we did like maybe a couple of scratch guitars, and then I had to go back to school. So these guys, like that was just this magical thing. Like, but if you go back and listen to that recording, that album, the bass doesn't exist.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
You want to know why?
Why?
Because these geniuses would go have reference tests in our van, and our van had a fucking subwoofer. Ugh. So every time that they would listen to it, they'd be like, oh, the bass is too high, it's too high, it's too high. Not realizing that it's the subwoofer making that. So they would go back down, turn the bass down, and now, you know, I wasn't there for mixing, so what we need to do is we need to find that old ass van and go listen to that and get a proper listen of it. Is that what you're telling me? Get a proper listen. Listen to that album with a subwoofer, and you'll get the bass out of it. But yeah, it's just guitar, drums, and vocals for the most part. Very MIDI guitars too.
Oh my goodness!
Like very mid-rangey.
It's a fucking hell of a record though. I mean,
it was fun.
It's unlike anything I had ever heard because at this time, this was for me personally, this was the time I was getting into the scene. So this music is stuff I had never fucking heard. I heard like the local rock radio station with fucking Sublime and Pearl Jam and 311 and all that shit. Not that it's terrible, but you know, hearing this, like hearing Saves the Day and Over It and Stryder, River City High, Hot Rod Circuit, all these, I could go on and on. It's a completely different thing.
Hot Rod Circuit. Holy shit.
Yeah.
No, because like those, I played like some of my first shows with that band consecutively. Like Hot Rod Circuit was like the bros. Like, wow. I just had talk about having like not saying certain names in like decades. Like that's damn near 20 years. I haven't said the name Hot Rod Circuit. Like, wow,
I feel old every time I hear that 20 word. I feel really old.
You gotta understand, I was in high school.
Yeah,
like I
same
was
here.
Like when the Stryder broke up, we broke up in 2003.
Yep.
I was 22, 23.
Yeah.
So it was like from 17 to 23 of like the most magical time that you can ever imagine. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
definitely.
Crazy.
I remember when I attended one of your first shows, that's when I picked up the Hits Keep Coming 7-inch with Onward Christian Soldier.
You got it tight, you got it right, now I got it wrong.
White Spiders. But when the Savor the Danger EP would come out a couple of years later, there was another song, an early song called Callback Setbacks or Setbacks Callbacks or some shit. That song was a jam.
Shit makes you nothing, nothing. You want nothing, nothing. They make you nothing, nothing.
That was a yearly song.
That was a yearly song.
That was a yearly song. So those two songs were yearly songs.
Yeah.
Like you can almost say like those are like the last two songs Yearly wrote.
I love that Callback Setbacks though. I because the only release it ever got was on that EP. Was that just something that because I guess those three songs all together though, none of them made like Masquerade. Did you guys just feel like you had better stuff in the can that you wanted to put out ahead of it, or?
It's weird. Well, the Elkions who put out the Savor the Danger with those two songs. That's our friend Maddie.
Yeah.
And, we met Maddie through that kid Justin who used to book us, and he was based out of Michigan, so we would always stay with him. He worked at a pizza place, and so after every show, we'd go to the pizza place. He'd make us all this fucking pizza, and then we just go home. And so, like it's again like talking about the magic back then. Like there were just like these certain figures like placed in different states that like were key, into like, so like, yeah, he didn't, he had a record label because he also put out a band called Few and Far Between.
Oh
which
my
were our friends
God.
from there.
I love that band.
Yeah. Like, again, we used to play a lot of shows with those dudes because like we met them and just like really broed out with them and like super chill. And he put that out. Our friend Maddie from Michigan.
Yeah. There's some demos on there too. Let me pull it up real quick. Just the track listing here. Let's see the Stryder. So yeah, Savor the Danger. There's demo versions of My Plastic You, 1111, King of Coronas, and Breathe. And according to the liner notes, Chris Connolly did some background vocals on some of these.
Wow. So I don't know how I left this whole part of the story out. So like, I think as a consolation for taking Eben from us.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, I'll go ahead and say this. Before things went left, Chris Conley recorded our first demo in his basement.
Oh, wow.
So that recording was done in his basement and he sang backup on that. And he was totally instrumental in getting us that Equal Vision deal. Like we did the demo and he got it right to them, and the rest, as you say, is history. So a funny story about that whole relationship. So as a consolation, as I said, for taking Eben, he did our demo and he passed on the EVR.
Yeah.
So here's where things went left. So we're getting ready to play shows with them because, again, they're feeling pretty guilty,
right,
for taking our dog from us. And so our old friend Justin on IM sends an IM that goes, because mind you, like we're still bitter. Like we're like okay, like because you understand, like that scene and that whole shit is like super competitive. It's like I want to relate it to like sports teams. Like it's just as competitive. Like I'll never forget, we're hanging out. I'm gonna tell it all. So
okay.
I don't give a fuck because like this shit is real. We're hanging out at Chris Conley's house, and this is like damn near 20 years ago. And they get a call because there was another band called Kid Dynamite at the time who was also big in Jersey. They were remnants of the band Lifetime. Pretty much it was Lifetime with a different singer.
Right.
And they were pretty big at the time. They were doing their thing. And Save the Day played a lot of shows with them. That's why Save the Day was big. They used to open up for them. And one of the dudes from Kid Dynamite calls up Chris and is like, yo, we're about to break up. And so Chris is like, oh man, like, damn, that sucks. Puts down the phone and is like, yes. Why? Because at the time they were like the big band.
Yeah.
So what I took from witnessing him put down the phone going to us like, yes, it's like, okay, like they know like the torch is essentially being passed. Like they're about to like ascend.
Yep.
All good. So that was just to show you, like, you know, how competitive it was. So
Yep.
Justin sends an IM to me in our bitter, but okay, we'll let you kind of make up for what you just did to us state. He goes, after this tour, we're going to be done with them. Like, we're going to go our separate way, and we're just going to blow up. And he sends it to Brian Newman, their drummer at the time, because I guess in a separate thing, he's talking to him about whatever.
Yeah.
So how does he cover that up? He goes, oh no, I meant to send that to Scottie. Remember that part where I told you I got kicked out of Stryder?
Yeah.
I forgot. This is why.
Okay.
So he covers up his tracks. He goes, I meant to send that to Scottie. So in Brian's mind, it's Justin and Scottie plotting and scheming, talking this shit. I had no idea Justin was going to say this. It never got to me.
Yeah.
It came. He comes from his house because he lived up the hill from us, like in not too far. He rushes down to Peter's house and is like, "Oh my god, I fucked up." So that happens. Sage is like, "Fuck them," and yeah. So how does my band react? Because, you know, like, this is like at a pivotal moment. Like, we just get signed to EVR.
Yep.
We like all this shit. So they're like, well, we love you guys, but we don't trust that kid Scottie.
Right.
So it comes back to me. It's like, yo, like, man, like, you know, like everybody's willing to work with us, but like, you know, so I'm like, yo, that's not my fault. Da, 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 da. Like, you know, like, I didn't know he was going to say that. And like, why would you then go say like, oh, I meant to send it to Scottie? Like, you did it. Like, don't, you know what I mean? But like, it was this whole thing. And so they tried to like do damage control and try out this other kid. He wasn't so good. And yeah, I had already did that song 1111. Like, we had a whole bunch of other songs, but like, yeah, that's where Stryder and Saves the Day went left, because it was actually on pace for it to be like this whole new, like, and forgive me for even, I'm just using this as an analogy, but it was like the relationship of like the Beatles and the Stones. Like,
yeah,
Save the Day were the Beatles, you know what I mean? Like, they had that very impactful first album, Can't Slow Down.
Oh yeah.
And then when they're about to do that second one is when they took Eben and went and did that. And so we were doing our thing, but then like, once that happened, and this was found out years after the fact, they essentially blackballed us pretty much. So yeah, so like, it was funny, like, you know, they would like, you know, like, all the bands play all the same clubs.
Oh yeah.
So let's say if they played the week before, they'd be like, yo, like, you know, we'll totally come work with you guys, but like, don't fuck with that band, the Stryder. You know what I mean? So like,
damn,
yo, it was like, you know what I mean?
that's some
like,
serious shit right there.
Serious, like, it's crazy. But then like, that ended up even getting smoothed over. You know what I mean? Because like, I don't know how or why. Because that kid Brian, who used to be their drummer,
yeah,
he ended up leaving. And then I think that's what helped that. And my, you know, past relationship with Eben, which was so weird because it's like, it was so funny to watch Eben pretend that he didn't like me. You know what I mean? It's like, you know how when you see someone, but like, you know, you're in a fight and you're like, oh, I just want to go in there and hug him. Like, I can't because like, this stupid thing. Like, it was crazy. But like, yeah, there's like, like rehashing all this shit. There was really deep history like between all this. But like, that's one of the reasons why the Stryder kind of, kind of gave up, because like, if you listen to that song called Epitaph,
asking too much when I expect respect from the people I make sure I stick out my neck for. The heat just beats us down much more each day. The shows won't pay. Say what you got to say. You're too late, cause they won't book us anyway.
If you listen to those lyrics, like he talks about you know, like places not wanting to book us, and like we get to a place and they'd be like, oh, you're on the bill? We didn't know you guys are playing. Like, imagine driving 10 hours somewhere and they're like, oh, Even though we know, like, we're
Yeah.
supposed to be playing, why would we be driving here? Like, oh, okay, I guess we'll let you play, but like, don't expect like to get paid or anything. Or like, dude,
Damn.
Spartan times back then. But like, yeah, it was rough. But not always, because you know what I mean. Because then like we would have like certain areas like where you were from. I always thought you were from Maryland because I remember I thought St. Andrews was like in Silver Spring,
College Park.
College Park.
Yep.
I thought that's where you guys were from. Are you from Virginia?
Yeah, that was like an hour train ride for us on the metro,
Okay.
but well worth it.
Yeah, that's what I remember seeing. That's what I remember. That's my first recollection of you at St. Andrew's Church. Definitely.
Yep, that's
Definitely.
where we met up. And then I think the reason that I guess you started to get kind of like a closer connection with us was because I was actually in California. You were in Virginia hanging out with some people, and you and I think John was there, and you guys had invited Larry and Chris over, and y'all started hanging out. And so then by the time y'all came back to Maryland, I was back in town, and I came over there, and like you guys had already knew each other. Y'all had been hanging out and shit. And ever since then, it's like every time we came to a show, we always saw each other.
Yeah, that was the thing. Like when we knew we were playing that area, we knew like to expect you guys. Because I remember seeing you guys at in Baltimore as well, at that really small place.
Auto
Bar.
Yep.
The Auto Bar. Oh,
and you guys played the sidebar too. There was sidebar and Auto Bar.
Sidebar and Auto Bar. Yes, but
yeah,
I remember seeing you guys there too. Like that was like we always had like a region of certain friends that like we'll be cool because like. You know, these guys are coming.
Anytime you guys were booked, we were there. The only time that I was not there, the guys actually ditched me. You'll laugh about this. So I was playing a solo acoustic show at a coffee shop, my first solo gig like ever. And it happened to be booked that weekend. And you guys were on like some weekend thing with some EVR bands. I think, this would have been May of 2001. It's when you guys were the 5-piece. And I missed out on that. I remember missing out on
when
that.
John was still in the band.
Yep, when John was still in the band,
and we had Durjiah.
Yep.
So that had to have been.
It was like May of 2001.
Was it like that EVR showcase?
Yeah, that's what it had.
It was a bunch of. Yeah, I remember like the Hope Conspiracy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
American
was
Nightmare
Fairweather there? What American Nightmare?
Yeah, Fairweather was definitely there.
Yeah, Fairweather, and that's about. I'm sure there were a bunch of other bands, but I remember like those were like our bros. Converge, who didn't like us.
Why didn't they like you?
So apparently, because we used to play with those guys in Boston, and we played a show with Converge and this other band called what's that fucking band? I don't know. They're from Boston, and the guitar player and singer, he was a really prolific guitar player and singer, and they were like they became really like metally. Fuck.
Yeah, it's not coming to me immediately.
His name is Jacob. The singer's name was singer guitar player. His name was like.
People listening are screaming at their cars and their phones right now. It's this band, duh.
But yeah, his guitar got stolen.
Yeah,
and for some reason it got back to him that we stole it.
Oh shit!
So, which wasn't true, but so like that, like they just didn't like us for some reason because they thought we stole their friend's guitar.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me get back in the timeline here. So, Masquerade.
I'm everywhere. I'm sorry.
No. This is fine. If I jump all around, I know I'll forget some shit, and I want to make sure we get everything here.
Totally.
So Masquerade. So that's after the demos we talked about that ended up being on Savor the Danger. So Masquerade comes around. Now, do you guys get to pick to work with Brian, or does EVR say we're sending you to Brian, or how does that work?
Yeah, it was for like, okay, we got signed and then we had a certain budget. And I think Brian was one of the guys that fit that budget.
Right.
And so I think it was like a combination of EVR saying, hey, you know, this guy, Brian McTiernan, can do it for this. And we checked the track record and it was immaculate. So we were like, yeah, let's go.
Right.
Let's go down there. It was like, he made some shit. You know what I mean? Like Brian McTiernan
Salad Days,
legendary.
baby.
Salad Days.
Woo. He did the Fairweather record.
Come on now. Love Fairweather.
I remember there was a reunion show, Fairweather 2011. They came back and did a show in DC. They put out a whole new record even, and they just fucking tore it up, man.
They're so lucky. Like That's funny. Like, I really wanted to do a reunion, but not everybody was with it. But like, I'm a big reunion guy. Like,
Yes.
because it's not even about like, going out and like playing shows. I just love playing music with those cats. Like, I'm just a music junkie. Like,
Yeah.
they're like, as you know, because you've played in bands as well. Like, there's nothing. It's hard to explain that magic of just being on the same page as a musician in a band with like other people. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It's insane. So like that's what I miss the most. Just going at it with my friends. You know what I mean?
Well, we need to make this shit go viral and get enough fan interest, and then like you start calling up people like, hey, these guys are talking about this interview. I think they want to see like at least one more show, right? Maybe.
Hey, listen. Again, I'm one of the guys that's with it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it wouldn't even take a bunch of people. Like if my friends were like, "Yo, let's play," like I'm in. So yeah.
Even
definitely.
y'all do it in New York, which is probably I would imagine where you would do it. My ass is up there. I don't give a fuck. Like
yeah, I wonder where we would do it because I moved to Florida a couple of years ago. I'm actually in Florida right now.
No kidding.
Yeah. But I think we would do it in New York. But that's the thing. The funny thing is, if we were to like do it for the sake of doing like a big show, it would have to be in like College Park or something, because like those are like that's where we played our biggest shows. Like that's where like we had like the most fans. Like Stryder was a strictly East Coast band.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we did I-95 a bunch of times. Like we were an East Coast band.
I think if we can drag up Over It from the Dead and get you guys in Fairweather from the Dead. Now they played as late as 3 years ago, so maybe they'll go for it. But
Over It played 3 years ago?
No, Fairweather did.
Fairweather, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over It, I would love to see those guys back too.
Yeah. Yeah. I love Over It.
Did you ever see any of the stuff they did when they were a 5-piece?
I did. It's funny. We went to their show, and then they knew a mutual friend of this girl Peter was dating. So there was this connection. I remember she was like, "Yeah, look, my friend Over It is playing like at the Knitting Factory." Like, Over It, like, so like we had like this like semi like me. I remember me and Peter had this like semi reunion with them, and like after the show at the friend's house, and it was like so cool. It was like,
yeah,
just like we're looking at them like, do they really know like how far we go back? You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
way far
I did see
back.
Over It as a 5-piece. Yeah. Yeah,
they were good. I think they were definitely gone before their time, but it's just a thing of the scene. Things just happen.
Life happens.
Life happens.
It's crazy.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
But so Masquerade, you're recording this record. How many songs did you record everything that ended up on the record? Did you have anything extra left over, or?
Yeah, we literally said we're going to do 10 songs.
Okay.
And I believe there's 10 songs on that album.
Yes.
Yeah.
Double check.
I just remember we're doing, it might be 13 on that album and 10 on the other album.
I'm sorry, 12. There's 12.
12.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were like, we're going to do 12 and that's it. So yeah, pretty much everything we wrote is on there. Yeah, there was nothing left on the Cutting Room Floor.
I know what it's like when you write music. It's hard to pick favorites because you feel like all of your children. But is there anything on this record that really sticks out like a sore thumb that like, man, I fucking love this song?
It's funny. The one song that me and Peter, we always agreed that this is like our favorite song to play. It wasn't necessarily a so-called popular song from that album, but it was called I don't remember the name of the song, but I can remember it's like that song that goes do 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 do.
One step behind.
Yeah. Like yeah. That's my favorite song from that album.
Passwords?
Passwords, yes.
Ran away with the passwords. And now the fuck does this thing work? What ties the knots in my stomach? Yeah, just a time around my throat. She ties the ropes around my throat.
There it is.
That's my favorite song from that album. I love playing that song. That's from that Chris Glover and Peter band that parts of that song is. But yeah.
I always like the intro in Got You Last. Got the boom boom.
Yeah.
I always love that.
It's funny, man. I guess that's just from coming from like a 3-piece, but like the drums are really forefront in that early stuff. Like I remember like a lot of that stuff was written around like the drums and guitar of just really just me and Peter just bouncing shit off each other. Or sometimes, you know, me being a drummer who knew how to play guitar, like we had that luxury. Like if I wrote something, like I know how the drums are gonna go. You know what I mean?
Right. And when you guys finished up with this thing, like, or actually before that, any songs that took like longer than others, or anything that was kind of written while you were in the studio, or anything like that?
The song that was written in the studio was we're dancing.
Sexy Black Train, is that the one?
No, not Sexy Black Train.
The Skyline.
Is it New York Woman?
Yes.
We're dancing, we're laughing, we're singing songs. The skyline is glowing, it turns her on. My body is burning on her skin. My New York woman.
Yeah, we wrote that song at Salad Days.
Okay.
But for the most part, once we found out that we were gonna go make an album at Salad Days, me and Peter just started writing crazy. Like they would call me up on the phone. I'll never forget. They call me up on the phone. Nick calls me up and is like, "Listen to what we just wrote." He holds the phone on and starts going, and then Peter starts going, "Wah, dan, dan."
Can you feel me breathing on your skin? Whisper on your neck. Can you feel it rolling from your chin? Right down to your breast. Can you feel my eyelashes?
I'm like, because mind you, we were like, you know, heavy. Like we come from like a ska background.
Yeah.
We were heavy into the Police, like a whole bunch of reggae. So like, that's where that stuff comes from. And like, I was like, whoa. And
Intoxicated.
Yeah, Intoxicated. So once we found out that like, you know, we got signed, like we're gonna go do this album, I just remember we were just like writing like ideas and then putting it together, and then so that all that shit was like written with like in like a month.
Yeah, I remember before it even came out. This is back when stuff was leaking on Napster. You remember these times?
Oh my God, yes. Yo, can I just tell you that like in my and like whoever you talk to from, if you do talk to anyone from like this band, they can attest that like I used to find the most coolest obscure shit on Napster.
True story.
Like I used to have these Linkin Park demos, because mind you, like I listen to everything.
Yeah.
But Linkin Park's demos were so much better than what like they turned out to be.
Right.
Like the band they turned to be. Like they used to like have some shit that used to thump. And I used to find that shit. Like there was all this obscure Cash Money record shit. Like I was heavy into like I was heavy into a lot of shit. Yeah, Napster was awesome because like you could like, do you just remember like the weird stuff that you'd be able to find?
Oh, yeah.
Like you'd be able to find like live sets of like your favorite band at like certain spots. Like yeah, I miss Napster. Napster was amazing, but we came up in the beginning of Napster.
Yes.
That's a key. That's a key thing.
I remember Sucker. Was for some reason labeled Flazer in Napster. Now is that somebody just naming stuff, or did it have an earlier title?
It's funny. So, and I'm allowed to say this because you know I'm engaged, but like I'm talking about like history.
Yes.
There used to we met this tall girl and the tall blonde girl at this Some Records party back in the day, because you know this is when we were trying to like shop our shit to everybody.
Yeah.
But we're hanging out at this place, and her screen name was Phaser Girl.
Okay.
And so I wrote this song called Phaser, which they misspelled and uploaded it as Flazer.
We played that song at our first show, and Chris and I and Larry were in our first band, Gatewood.
Gatewood. Chris will always be Reverend Short stuff to me. Like that's how I will always remember him. That's my guy.
Oh hell yeah.
That's my guy.
I think that's the song we opened with at that show was Flazer. And I had my little notebook in my hand as I'm reading the lyrics. I don't know why I needed to read them because all I was doing was listening to these songs from Napster, but I had my little notebook and we opened up our set, our very first show with Flazer.
Nice. That is a good opener. So
yes.
Good choice.
Well, you guys opened with it.
Yeah, that was a staple for a minute. Yeah.
I remember I have a show that I actually uploaded to YouTube of you guys. You might remember there was a show where I used to have the camera, and this set was February of 2001, and you opened up with Sucker, or Flazer as we'll call it. And before that though, you guys did a little bit of Billy. It was in those early stages, then you go right into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember we used to do the intro to that.
Yep.
That was because we were demoing that stuff. And then
that song was a fucking banger, man. Jesus Christ.
Thank you. You know what? As far as like my favorite song as a whole, that's my favorite song.
Okay.
From that band. That is my favorite song from that band.
Man.
Billy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was that summer of 2000 though, the first summer that I seen you guys. That I think the record came out in like, I want to say like September, October. Does that sound about right? Came out later in that year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that was 01. Was that 01?
Well, Masquerade would have come out, I want to say like September of 2000, and then we saw you guys again February of 01.
Right, and I think that album, Jungle City, came out that year, right?
2002 is when Jungle City came.
Oh, right. So, yeah, because September 11th happened when we were on tour.
Okay.
September 11th is a big factor as far as to why that band imploded. I want to, I guess, use the right word.
Okay, what happened?
Because, well, you know, that show you mentioned where we did that intro.
Yep.
We were demoing those songs. Then we started working on those songs, and then we realized that we were trying to, you know, go a little different direction musically, and so me and Peter were like, you know, well, since we're writing this stuff, and you know, I think at that time, like, I don't know, we were burnt out as that unit.
Yep.
And so we're like, to give more backstory. There's another band, a big band from Long Island called Glassjaw that I was obsessed with, and still to this very day that I'm obsessed with.
Many people obsessed with Glassjaw.
yeah. So it's weird because it's like when you really focus on something, you really do manifest it. So like, I'll never forget first seeing them. There was this band called Sound Majority, another staple band from Long Island, influential, and Glassjaw. I saw them for my first time at Eben's High School. It was so dope. Like Sound Majority played on one side, and then as soon as they were done, you turn around and Glassjaw set just starts. And I was just like, I think that might have been like my first show in like the so-called scene.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this dude, Beck. He's playing drums at the time, and his swag, like what he's doing, I'm just like, hi, like what is this? And so I was just obsessed to the point where like I learned all their songs on guitar. Like that band, like learning their songs on guitar is like a reason why like I was like, you know, able to play guitar later. But I ended up playing a show as Glassjaw's drummer.
Wow.
Because what's crazy, again, this goes back to the plucking. Their drummer at the time, Stefan, quit them to go play in this other band called the name will come back to him, but they were signed to Roadrunner at the time. So he was like, you know, I got to get this money.
Yeah, yep.
So they had a show coming up. It was a December 20th show. I'll never forget this. And we were friends with them because like just through Eben, like their bass player at the time, Ariel, he was from Seacliff, and so like we just playing in that scene, like we all just became friends. And I remember when I heard that Stefan was gone, I'm like, yo, Daryl, I can play your songs front to back. Let me play. I got you. I want to be in the band. I'm only 16. I'm only 16 at the time, but like they were like high school kids at the same time too. So
Right.
I remember he's like, yo, I'm down, but you got to talk to Beck. So Beck calls me up he used to work at a bowling alley. Calls me up from the bowling alley. It's like, yo, the Scottie? I'm like, yeah, like yeah. He's like, yo, you sure you can do it? Like, don't fucking waste my time. I'm like, yo, I promise, just give me one shot, coach. And so we rehearsed, and like they're just like shocked. They're like, because they knew like I played drums, but like as far as like being able to like play on that scale, is like, whoa. So I did it, and that me thinking I'm in the band turned into only being a show because when I was only 16, I can't tour. They were like literally they had their foot in like becoming like Glassjaw the world over. You know what I mean?
Right,
so it was just like, but that was cool. So like I from that obsession of them, like I manifested myself into that band for that show. But yeah. That what were we talking about?
We're going into September 11th. You said there was like a big pivotal moment.
Right. So they go, Glassjaw ends up signing a deal with Roadrunner Records. They're demoing. Their drummer at the time, after Stefan left, they got a guy named Durjiah, who I never heard of. Mind you, this scene is really small, so everybody's like, who is this guy Durjiah? Because like, the Long Island scene, like Glassjaw was like that's like our favorite band, like everybody's favorite band. So
yeah.
It was a big deal. Like, who's playing drums? Who the fuck is this guy named Durjiah? Like, what is this guy? So
they had no fucking idea, did they?
No fucking idea, dude. Because again, like the dude Stefan was sick. Like this, God bless the dead. He passed not too long ago, but Stefan was an amazing drummer. Like, look up the Don Fury sessions of Glassjaw. Like that's him playing drums. He's so sick. One of my favorite drummers ever. So they get this guy Durjiah, and so I'm sitting there like, all right, Durjiah, let's see if, let's see what the hubbub's about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
so
yeah.
He just fucking, and mind you, he had like a Lars Ulrich kit at the time, like 8 toms. He had like really low cymbals set up, and he was goofy. He played like this. He didn't play like this. He had like his ride cymbal over here. So I'm like, where did they find this guy? But turns out he was like friends with Stefan, and Stefan was like, yo, my friend Durjiah can totally come in. So Durjiah is in Glassjaw, kills it. They get signed. They're about to go do their demo, and in that whole demoing process, something happened with like Durjiah where there's like something happened with like him and Ross Robinson, where I think like was the implementation of a click track. Like I just think there was like just something wasn't working in the studio, and so they ended up using Sammy Siegler, and Durjiah essentially was replaced by Sammy. Like Sammy came in, and I think he was initially only supposed to do the album, and then when they were done, he was going to rejoin, and he was essentially sent home to go back and practice.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Because I think like Durjiah also had like some stuff that he was dealing with at the time that like maybe that was affecting his playing, but that turned from just the recording to like Sammy was a drummer. So I remember when Stryder was changing its tune, no pun intended. I like, because again, me being obsessed with Glassjaw, I used to load Durjiah's drums in when Glassjaw would play. Like I would Durjiah used to come pick me up, and I would be his tech for shows. And like he had a big black Bronco that had like the biggest fucking sound system in it, and like we would just geek out on like Korn. Like I remember me and him got in an argument. About the song "Freak on a Leash." He and this is the argument. He says that the part in that song is harder than the part that's like something takes a. That's my part. Like he says the other part's hard. Like no, that part's harder. But me and Durjiah were just band geeks. So like I remember when I found out that he wasn't in Glassjaw anymore and that we wanted to change our style, I'm like, yo, the only person that I will stop playing drums for is if we can get Durjiah, because he's a fucking animal.
Right.
And so I remember I called him up and I was like, yo, bro, like, it's weird. Like, either he called me first or I called him, but I put it out. I said that, and then that somehow got to him. And then he started reaching out to me. We talked. I remember he came over. He learned a couple of songs. And I'll never forget when he sat down and he played my drums at Peter's basement. He, like, I would like to say that, like, I hit pretty hard.
Yeah.
Not only does Durjiah hit hard, but whereas I used to use, like, these really thin, not necessarily thin sticks, but, like, I used, like, a thinner, like, I think I was using, like, 5A or 5B at the time.
Right.
Durjiah used these sticks called, that were 2Bs. so they're essentially, like, miniature baseball bats that they give out at baseball games. Like, and he just, I've never heard drums hit like that before in my life. So I was like, I'm sold. Like, are you guys cool with it? Because I see a fucking musical genius.
Yeah.
And mind you, Durjiah went to Berkeley for jazz guitar.
Oh man.
And tried to like just, he's a wizard. So yeah, we got Durjiah, and then we did that album in New York City.
Yeah.
The summer of like 2000 and so September 11th happened when we were on tour. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
We were in we were like 30 miles away from Shanksville, from where that plane went down.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So I'll never forget, I woke up and we played with a band called remember Brett Dieter from
Juliana Theory.
Yeah. What was the band called that he was in before that?
Oh fuck.
He was in a hardcore band.
Zao.
Hardcore Christian band. Zao.
Yeah.
So
Zao.
the dude that replaced him, Zao, we were staying at his house. Super cool guy. I can't remember his name, but I think he was like one of the first dudes. He was like the guy who replaced him after. So we're staying at his place, and I'll never forget, he runs in and he's like, yo, your fucking city is on fire. And we're like imagine just being like, so like,
what's going on now?
So he puts on the TV and I'm like, what? So I'm trying to call home. No phone calls are going through. Like there's communications are shut down. So that day was when I was introduced to anxiety. Like, I never had anxiety because, mind you, we're from a pre 9/11 world. You see what I'm saying?
Oh,
like 9/11, pre 9/11, like, it's like it was like global Woodstock. Like, you know how like you picture the hippies, like peace and love, like that was like that. Not since I think about it, pre 9/11 was like just a way different vibe. So like it went from that to like Vietnam. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And so that happened. Couldn't get in touch with home. We got in touch with home. Everybody was okay. Then our van that we had ends up just dying. Mind you, we're on tour. Like, this is the first tour we're on with Durjiah.
Right.
He had to bring his girlfriend because there was like some weird living situation, but like she had to come. So our first tour with Durjiah is essentially with his girlfriend. Disaster. So
yeah, that happens like, sometimes.
Yeah. So that was a disaster. And then 9/11 happened and our van died. So it was like bam, 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 bam. And so then we go home, living amongst that whole shit.
Oh yeah.
And then we ended up writing a book. Like, we was just like, then like that whole Patriot wave came out where it's like, you know, the flags all went up everywhere. And so like now we're writing like these songs and but yeah, we were like trying to like pretend that didn't happen and still trying to be a band. And then to try to go out and tour
right
at that time, like right after that was damn near impossible. So it was like, on top of the fact, so you have being semi kind of blackballed. We just got rid of. Now, when we switched out John,
yes, that's where I was going to go next. Yep.
A lot of people went with John. Right. As far as like people who were into our band, I don't know if you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm, but I like to relate it to like when Larry and his wife broke up, and a lot of people chose to go. Like, they're like, you know, we met you as a couple, but we're going to go with Cheryl. You know what I mean? Right. Like, when we switched our singer out, people were just like, you know, like, not with it.
And what was it? Was it just the creative didn't match kind of his style, or was there something else to it, or what was that?
No, that's really what it was. It was like, as you know, I started playing guitar,
Yep.
and I also, well, I was learning to sing at the time. I wouldn't call myself a singer back then. I'm actually a better singer now than I was back then.
Well, we heard you on Intoxicated. I remember that. Yeah,
Yeah,
right at the end.
I did sing on that. Yeah. So like, yeah, I was always just like, I always had front stage envy. Like, I'm
and
like,
on White
you know what I
Spiders,
mean?
you were actually on White Spiders as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I was. Yes, I was.
We always used to love to sing your parts because like we knew when Scottie was coming in, like we'd be in the car riding around, and we knew when your part would come in, and we would belt it out because we
That's
loved
awesome,
hearing
man.
you, man.
If I stole these kisses while whispering, don't say I didn't try.
I love you guys too, man. Yeah, man. I was always singing, so like it was just like a thing where like me and Peter like wanted to take charge of our songs.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So it wasn't like John was doing anything wrong or anything bad. It was literally just like we're going in a different style. Like in order to do that, we need to do this. Like we got Durjiah. I'm gonna start singing and playing guitar. Peter's gonna start singing and playing guitar.
Well, and to that point, another video that I found is actually interesting. Remember, I told you there was one there was the show, the 5-piece. I didn't make it because I had the show. Well, that same weekend, there was another show that you guys played. I don't remember where it was, but somebody uploaded that video to YouTube. So this was my first time yesterday seeing a video of the 5-piece together.
Do you know where that was?
Oh man, let me see if I can pull it up in my YouTube history real quick. But it was the 5-piece, and I remember hearing John sing some of the new stuff because you guys played Little Electric, you played Billy,
Yeah.
and I found that to be very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the thing. If there is video of that, like you can kind of see, like it was just a stylistic thing. You know what I mean?
It was very
just like,
different. I remember that. Yeah,
It was different, and like yeah, that's just what that's like. You know, being in a band like that. And just being like, because I remember we were in Tallahassee, and I remember like, yo, Peter, I got all these dope punkish songs, like, you know, because like you realize, okay, like this is our fan base, like this is what, you know, these are the type of shit we should be playing. And it was actually Peter who was like, yo, I'm not even trying to do none of that shit no more. Peter like actually like was like, yo, let's switch it up.
right.
So I was like, and so like, yeah.
Yeah, this was May 25th. So this is the same weekend, May 25th, 2001, Club Chrome, South Amboy, New Jersey.
Oh, the Hate 516 show.
Yep.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I think that's like the only recording of that 5-piece lineup, and I hate it because they film it from Peter's side.
Oh yeah.
So you can't hear what I'm doing. Like I'm a big sounds guy. So like you know what I mean? Like part of why again like why it's so bittersweet for me is like all our recordings that exist in the world, they don't sound so good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I remember the shows, like being at those shows, they sounded great, but like the actual recordings of them are just like, it's just like, of course.
Don't ever go back and watch the 2 videos that I uploaded because they sound like dog shit. Like y'all played great,
No,
but they sound like dog shit.
I did though, and that's the thing. That's not your fault. That's just like. That's just, you know, that's just how it is. Like nobody knows like to be like, hey, I should be standing here so I can get like the sound. No, you just want to get it. You know what I mean? Like you're not taking account to how it sounds, but like, yeah.
Well, I'm into filming stuff now. Like I'm doing vlogs on YouTube and like I'm trying to learn all that stuff now. And I watch this old stuff and I'm like, oh my God, this is bad. Actually, there's a photo that's sitting on my desk here. I'll show you this. Unfortunately, you are not in it, but it does have Peter, me, and Larry in it.
Oh, whoa.
I still have this. My wife found this. It was in a box somewhere. And she's like, you should just have this on your desk because it represents a time, you know, a special time.
Dude, that is a special time. That's a very special time.
That was Mount Oak, Maryland. It was a church. This would have been August of 2000, this show. So you guys, Fairweather, Juliana Theory was supposed to play it, but I think their van broke down. River City High was on this show. I don't remember who headlined, but fuck it. It was a great show. It was awesome.
Yeah. That was one of our first semi-big tours was with River City High and Juliana Theory.
Yeah.
Another magical experience because they were demoing. Oh no, I think they had recorded that song. They had recorded that album "Emotion Is Dead."
Oh yeah,
and they had that, and they were playing that shit, and I'm just like, because you understand, like, I just found out about them by playing with them. I never heard like really anything like that. And at this time, I'm just getting into Jimmy Eat World. I'm getting into sense field. Like I'm really like going deep that direction.
Oh
And
yeah.
it was just really cool to be around those dudes and like see like a semi-professional like touring act, and they were so good. Like,
yeah, I didn't get to see them on that show, but I did see them in 2001. So that very next year with Movie Life, they played with Movie Life.
yeah,
Yeah, it was a great show.
They ended up doing like this really dick thing where like we left our money box somewhere, and they were supposed to like bring it, and they ended up keeping it.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah. Again,
Juliana Theory or Movie Life? Who was that?
Juliana Theory.
Okay,
Movie Life's our boys. Like they're from Long Island, but yeah, they did like this weird thing. But
I'm deleting them
like,
off my iPhone now.
No, because I ended up talking to Brett. I ended up talking to Brett years after that, and we laughed about it. Like, again, it's all good. It was just wild times back then. Wild times.
I hear you. I remember. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the 5-piece. John left for creative differences. The next time I would see you guys would be in January of 2002, and this was at the Sidebar. I remember the Over It guys were there. I don't remember who you guys were on that show with, but this was the first time we got to hear the new music. And you guys opened with This Is the Time.
So hard lately, then a man come up to me and says I've been reading some sort of description, but I said this ain't my style.
And that was I think a staple as far as like an opener for you guys in that era. And I just remember hearing the song and it just fucking stuck with me. Now you had this little ditty at the beginning that wasn't on the record. It was like, 'cause there's only room for one in my bed or something like that. Yeah. I love that. I wish that was a part of the song. I love that part.
I used to go deep, man. Like I used to, I know. Ooh, I haven't thought about that in so long, but yeah, I used to do that.
I just remember that. I don't know how I remember all this stuff. Like when I did the interview with Chris, like, how the fuck do you remember this stuff? Like, it just sticks with me.
Yeah. That's.
But I loved that. Was that something that you guys worked out after you did the record, or is that something that just got cut? Or
like that little intro?
Yeah, I love that thing. I don't know why it just stuck with me.
I don't like that. Was just something I came up with that just in that key that worked out with that. Yeah, that was something that came after that song, and it was just something for shows.
Yeah.
Something for shows. Yeah.
But I mean, that song, it had a lot of energy right in the intro, and I just remember hearing the "I'm in your stereo," and that just stuck with me. And I was like, man, this is really good. I'm like,
that's Peter. Peter was like low key, in my opinion, was like John Lennon as far as lyrics, because I never really wrote much lyrics. I only wrote lyrics for the last album we did. But like, whereas I did a lot of the music,
right?
Peter was just like prolific with his pen, and like that line, "I'm in your stereo," like, bro.
I looked over at Chris. I looked over at Larry. I thought, I think they'll be all right. I think they're going to be okay.
We were going for it. We definitely were going for it, but
because it was such a radical change. I looked back at the some of the reviews at that time, and it seemed like
harsh.
Yeah.
Harsh.
Well, I found a couple favorable ones. There was a couple of favorable. Okay. Yeah.
I just remember it always, like, from when we changed and started singing and we switched John out, it always just felt like it was like us versus them, kind of, really.
Okay.
And when I say that, I'm just like, it was just, I don't know. It was just we got hated on a lot. We got a lot of hate. And I just didn't know where it would come from, because like, again, we were just trying to just like stand out, not really stand out, but just like kind of do our own thing and not necessarily say we can't do a certain sound. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Which now everybody does. Like there is like it's cool to be like, it's cool to change your sound now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As far as like being in like that type of band goes.
Well, I'll tell you this. I mean, I think you might take this as a compliment. I don't know how you'll take it, but I had a buddy of mine. He could not stand all the scene music that I was into. He just couldn't fucking stand it. And I said, just listen to this record and give me your honest take. And I played Jungle City Twitch for him. He fucking loved it. And he was like one of these guys that listens to like radio stuff, you know, just anything that's on the radio. And he really fucking loved it. And I was like, you know, awesome. I think when I heard the record, I was like, this, I feel has that broader reach. I felt.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the perfect word. We were trying to reach out to who or to what, we don't know, but like just trying to just, you know, cause we had like this sick drummer Durjiah who like can play all these different styles. Like he was into like a lot of, Durjiah got me into like a lot of like Europe stuff. Like I don't know what you would call it, but like he put me into like a girl named Estero. I believe when Durjiah got into the band, we started listening to more like Radiohead and like more like I guess trip hop. That was the word I was looking for, trip hop type of stuff.
Yeah.
And he not only was he listening to that stuff, but like he can play like that. So just like we have like the freedom to pretty much just go wherever we want because like, you know, we can.
Yeah.
You know, like
Where's Equal Vision and all this? Like, how do they feel about the drastic kind of shift?
Hated it.
They didn't like it.
When we got rid of it's funny. So when I tell you how people chose John, Equal Vision chose John. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, when we switched John out, like they just got really cold. I remember like we didn't really have much say in anything. I remember we wanted to be present for the mixing of that Jungle City album, and we couldn't because like Ray Martin, like we were there for some, but not for all.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I don't like how my vocals came out and like the way he mixed it. He mixed my vocal like if I was there to tell him like how to do it, it would have came out good. So like there's like certain levels that like he has that are wrong, but Equal Vision just kind of chose John. When we switched them out. And
when you listen back to some, is there some song on there that you listen back and like, oh fuck, they really butchered this, like the mixing?
Yeah. The only problem I have with the mixing is the vocals. Like, and when I say vocals, I mean my vocals. Like he kind of mixed them a little dry, because how me and Peter me and Peter had all these demos of that album that we made with a drum machine. And how we had the vocals like sounding like that's kind of how we wanted, like, you know, like with a more like polished sound or whatever. But I remember listening, I was like cringing because I was like, oh, he's got these vocals here where they should be here, and these vocals here where they should be here. You know what I mean? So other than that, I love that stuff. Like that's a really fucking loud album.
Yes.
Like I don't know if you know that, but this guy Tom, sweetheart of a guy, he like mixed like all this like high end shit, but we were just like, yo, we want our shit to just fucking be loud and have bass. You know what I mean? Because we didn't have that the last album, and so
You're make up for it this time.
Yeah, seriously, he made sure that like that was it. And where we did it, we the same speakers that were mixed on Appetite of Destruction was mixed on that.
Wow.
Same speaker. Yeah, and Ray Martin, like I don't know if you know his background, but
no, tell me about him.
He did like everybody from like Jeff Buckley to like that band Sound Majority who I said I told you I saw with Glassjaw. Like those are just two of my favorite recordings he's done. But he's done like a bunch of shit. Like he's who was he working with? That guy Entwistle who died from the Who.
John Entwistle, yeah.
John Entwistle, yeah, he did a bunch of his stuff. Just like that type of caliber stuff. So like he like that was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the songs that really sticks out from this record to me was Missing Without You.
All of the joy when I dream has been stolen. I fell right through a trap door that I opened. There's no way that you'll turn your body away.
I'm a sucker for more like slower ballad stuff, and this one just stuck out like a sore thumb.
You know, if there's one thing that I will say that I'm proud of is the fact that we did a song like that. Like the gall to do that. You know what I mean? Like, but like again, like you understand. Like I went from being straight edge to smoking a ton of weed. So you have me and Peter who are like Cheech and Chong for the most part, and no idea was bad. You know what I mean? So like,
that's how we explain Jungle City Twitches. You guys got in a room and just smoked a lot of weed.
Yeah.
All right.
Because there's this whole hidden track at the end of that album.
Yeah.
Where I've lost my mind at this point because I'm so high.
Then we're gonna slow it back up. It's midnight at the beach. And then I'm gonna get a drink from the bar. I'm gonna fill my glass up with Ricky.
Like I don't think I've ever been that high since that. But yeah, I had this demo. That song "Missing Without You" was just like a 2-track demo of just like these guitars that I had recorded, and then it turned into a ballad.
Yeah,
and we were just like, let's do a ballad, and so we did that.
Oh man, yeah, that one got a lot of play. I mean, I played this record over and over again, but that one got a lot of play.
None of the songs that I sing on, I don't like. Like I just because again, like I'm just triggered by that whole thing. But music wise, I love that song. Like musically, I love that song.
Little Electric.
Little electric, it's a mystery. Love is the potion that will cure all of your disease. When shit gets hectic, just stay close to me. It might be the only way. We might not be lonely.
That is a Peter Toh. He came up with that song for the most part, and Peter. That's a Peter creation.
Well, I remember your vocals on it though. Little Electric, it's a mystery. I love that
I'm
shit.
singing back up. Yep,
Yeah.
I'm singing. I got my man's back. I got my boy's back. You know what I mean? But,
Man. New Enemy, that's another one I really liked.
But if we try to come together all as one, to reunite this harmony that conquers all. What's worth the fight? Now you got answers, 'cause we want answers. With a battle cry, we send this out to you.
That was a jam.
That was like on some patriotic shit. Like, we're coming to get you, Osama. Like,
Yeah, we're coming for you.
Literally, that was like on some like America shit. Like, again, no idea was bad back then. So
Yeah.
me not knowing, like much about like writing lyrics and like singing, that's just me just throwing shit together over the music that I wrote. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. What about Crook?
Let me pat you down. Are you wired? And don't you make a sound? Were you hired? 'Cause you're a fucking crook. You're a liar. You're playing with my cash, so you're fired. You know it's making me.
I know a lot of people like that song.
Crook was a Peter Toh. Like it's funny. Like Peter, our songs like they're similar, but they're different. Like Peter started that song, and I remember I wrote like the ending of that song.
Yeah.
Peter wrote that riff. The da 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 da.
God, that thing jammed so hard.
Yeah,
Oof.
yeah. And then I remember the bass line was inspired by Toe Jam and Earl. Because again, we did all these demos. We did all these demos on a drum machine. So I remember, like he had that the guitar part was like the do 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 do, and so I just went wah 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 like I was just inspired by Toe Jam and Earl. But and it's funny, the name of that song, Billy,
Yes.
that comes from this kid from Ohio that we used to always go like. As I have like my friends from the Virginia, Baltimore,
Yep.
College Park area, Billy was the Ohio version of you guys,
Okay.
and he was always at every show. And I'll never forget that show is where we played. That show was where we started tooling around with that demo, with that riff, that da 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 da, which would go into Flazer.
Yep.
But I remember everybody was like this; they were jumping. And so we were just like, that was like one of the few shows that happened for us. So it was just like this prolific thing. And I'll never forget, we were just like, Billy, we have to fucking name that song Billy in honor of him, because like I don't know what happened. We stopped like going to that area, or maybe we stopped singing him, but it was just like we can never forget Billy.
Yeah.
Billy got that crowd going. Like Billy was like our guy. He was like a reason that show was so fun. I wanted to ask you a question.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever. There was a place in Virginia. It was like a fratish kind of place, and what ended up happening was someone like we used to play this place. We played there with Over It. It's in Virginia. And someone ended up like falling out of a window and they stopped having shows there.
Oh yeah, that was goddamn, the name's gonna kill me. It was a college place in Virginia,
Yes,
Blacksburg, maybe, or one of those
Yes.
areas. Southern Virginia.
Dude, you know what? If it weren't for people like you, because like we keep in touch, but like we don't like sit around like reminisce.
Yeah.
I would almost think like this stuff never happened. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because it's just so long ago. There's no documentation of it. But I'm so glad that you know exactly what I'm talking about. That place,
Yeah.
that house. It was like a college area, fucking packed to the gills. I remember. Like
Yeah.
I remember like that was one of my favorite places to play, and I was so heartbroken when like, someone died
Yes.
falling out of that window.
There was a buddy of mine. He was at that show, and I think he remembers seeing that. I remember he told me the story about it one time. He would later go on to pass away. God rest his soul. But
Man.
he was at that show, and I don't remember who was playing that show. Unfortunately, I don't remember that part of the story.
either.
But yeah, I just heard about it. I'm like, man, that's tragic.
Wait a minute. I almost want to. Did Fairweather play that show?
It's possible they played down there.
That's where we started playing with those guys. I do believe.
Okay.
Was at that college area, because Fairweather's from Virginia, right?
Yep.
That's where we started playing with them, and that's where we used to. So like when we would go to that place, like it was really packed.
Yeah.
And so like yeah, and then we met Fairweather, and it was doubly packed for them, and so we're like, who the fuck are these guys? Like, you know what I mean? But then it was like turned out to be like super dope, super cool Fairweather, and like we played a show together, and it was just like I literally remember it was so crowded that in order to get the drums through, like it had like we had to pass it through to people. People had to hand each piece of equipment.
No shit.
Because you played upstairs. Like the show was upstairs. It was upstairs. So we had to like literally like form a chain of people to like get it up and like but. Great memory. Yeah.
Some of those shows were the dopest, like in people's houses. I did see Fairweather in a guy's basement one time. It was Fairweather, Staring Back. Did you ever listen to those guys?
Yes, I have. I still have a Staring Back shirt to this day.
Same here. That record On that they put out in 2002 was just fucking fire. Whew. Dude, so good. But I remember seeing them in a basement. Over was going to play, but for whatever reason they had to back out. And then Gatewood, we opened the show, and God, did we stink up the joint. Whew. We were rough back then, man. We were rough.
Yeah,
but we had fun. I mean, we had a lot of fun. You know what I mean? It was a lot of fun.
The funnest times of my life.
Yeah. Just one or two more songs on this Jungle City Twitch that stick out. We talked about This Is the Time. What was that about? Do you remember what that was about?
I don't know if This Is the Time had a certain theme. If it did, it was like on some like, like this is like the time to like, if we're going to change something, like if we're going to change like this whole sound and like thing, like, I guess now's the time to do it. You know what I mean? Like, so like, cause I remember that line, I'm in your stereo, was like, I think it was like, that's what he was talking about along those lines. Like, I'm in your stereo, I'm here. This is what we sound like. We're like, this is the time.
Yeah, we're here to do it. I know people will kill me if I don't ask you about Circular Highway, because good Lord, that was a jam. What, 10, 15 minutes long?
Something like that. It was to showcase Durjiah. And just, Circular Highway was again like Durjiah introducing us to like that trip hop dubstep kind of sound, that kind of like electronica feel. And so like, that do 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 do. That's a Durjiah riff. Durjiah wrote that. Yeah, that's just all of our music influences, spearheaded by the big triceratops that is Durjiah. Like, yeah, that song is sick. Yeah.
I mean, so you have this record, Jungle City Twitch. You mentioned that EVR is not so hot on it, but we talk about how it could have a lot of broad appeal. So the very next year is when you guys split. So what the fuck happens? Are you just not getting enough support behind this record, or what's happening here?
So I'll never forget. It's funny how I found out that Yearly broke up.
Yeah.
The singer of Glassjaw, Dow, who we were really close with at the time, he comes over to my house and he goes, "I'm sorry to hear about your band." I'm like, "What happened?" He's like, "You didn't know? Eben left." Go towards the end of the day. Like, I think I might have, like, he like held me like I cried. Like, it was crazy. So how I found out about Stryder breaking up was at first it was like, okay, Peter's gonna go to school, but you guys can like continue to do it, but like Peter's gonna go to school for whatever. So I was like, well, I'm not gonna do that. Like, I'll just wait for you to whatever.
Yeah.
But then what he was really trying to say was like, I just don't want to do this anymore, because like at that time we started venturing west.
Yes.
So going up and down I-95 is one thing, but going out west and, having fuckery happen to the shows and like not knowing we're supposed to be here, like, it was literally like a patched up tour, and a lot of shows fell through. So imagine trying to get from state to state, without even having to get that release of playing a show. So it's like, oh, we're here, but we're not on the bill. So now we have to drive another 12 hours. Like, that took a lot out of us. And so, yeah, I think people just got burnt out.
Yeah.
It was rough. It was rough traveling in that van at that time. Like, it was rough.
Why? I think that song Epitaph definitely captures a lot of that for sure. You can tell it in his voice when he sings and when you comment. I mean, you could tell that there's some real fucking anger here,
And see, me, I don't know if it's because I found out I have like Irish blood in me. I don't know if it's the Irish in me, but it's like while going through that stuff, in my mind, it's just like, okay, this is what you have to go through before you hit it big.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm willing to go through that. Like, I'm willing to fight in the van. I'm willing to be sweaty and live off of $5 a day. Like, but not many people were. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And like that band, it was like, okay, universe, you won. Okay, we bow out. You got it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It was like, and again, it was like a lot of competitive stuff. Because towards the end of us, like, that's when Brand New and Taking Back Sunday.
Oh yeah.
They were forming and coming up, and it's weird. Like, we exist in this world over here, so like we've been a band longer than these guys, but then we would go to these guys at shows and we're like, how are you guys so popular? Like, how does everybody know about you guys? Like, I thought, like, so then like but then like looking back, you realize like, yo, like, this band kind of had like a little bit of a dark cloud over it.
Right. Is it fair to say that like you're going to those shows and you're like outsiders looking in? Is that fair to say?
Well, no, because here's the thing. When again, this is when John was still in the band, like, those bands used to open for us. Like, Brand New used to open up for us a bunch. Taking Back Sunday, we played with them a bunch where they opened up. And we just thought like, okay, cool. Like, these are, our mutual acquaintances or friends, because I was friends with those dudes back in the day. It was like, cool, like, they're doing their thing, so like it's like, like the natural progression. But at that time, like, we had like 2 to 3 years on these dudes, so like over in our world of struggle, like, we come back home and like these dudes, like these other guys, are just like more popular. Do you know Bayside? Yeah, we took Bayside on their first tour, and it's weird. Like, you think like when your band breaks up, like, like just that world just stops existing. But then like you come back and you're like, whoa, like Bayside is a thing, and like Taking Back Sunday is a thing. Brand new is a thing. It's like, shit, you know, like we were right there. There. And it's like, if we just pushed one more year, we could have been that. But
because they became like monsters. I mean, they were like fucking huge. MTV.
And that's the thing. Like, we were literally on the fringe of that. So I'm left out another big part. So when we got signed to EVR, we tried to back out of that deal and sign with Drive-Thru.
Okay.
So, and you know what's so funny? I just saw your post about Drive-Thru, which I was just like, I gotta remember to tell this part of the story.
Okay,
but like,
let's hear it.
Us not knowing anything and like not knowing how like agreements work, and I think this is where EVR kind of was cold to us. But like when we switched John out was like the last straw.
Yep.
But yeah, we had agreed to sign to EVR. Drive-Thru gets a hold of our demo. They're like, here, we got more money. So we're like, yeah, let's go with Drive-Thru. We're friends with Newfound Glory. I think they facilitated that. And we just found out we couldn't do it. So we're like, oh, okay. Sorry, EVR. We always loved you. But it was like, yeah, you just tried to ditch us. So like, there's that sour taste from our label in the very beginning.
Right. And
not much.
And I'm sorry, when they think about like a label like that, like when you sign to something like that, is it like a certain number of album deal, a certain number of years? Like, what was that all about? EVR.
It wasn't years, but it was a certain amount of albums. So what I remember our deal was, it was for a 3-record deal.
Okay.
2 firm. And what 2 firm means is like, you are guaranteed 2 releases. The third one is an option. And so, yeah, we had a 3-record deal, 2 firm, and we did our first record for like $5,000, and then the next budget for the next record was for $10,000.
Okay.
But we didn't make it to the third album because we broke up.
Now, before you guys broke up, did you have some other stuff kind of brewing yet, or is it still too early for that?
So when we broke up, did we have newer songs? I don't think we had newer songs.
When you guys broke up, you released Epitaph on your website, and you released another album or another song, Trickster.
Right. Okay. So Epitaph was definitely going to be a Stryder song. We broke up. That recording of Epitaph is just me and Peter. That's not the whole band. That's I played bass, drums, guitar, and I sang that last part. And so Peter at one point was going to do a solo thing during Stryder's like initial stage. He was going to be called Redfield the Kid. Okay, that's his middle name. But he had this acoustic song called Jane, which was really dope. I don't even know if that stuff's online, but it was this really dope song. And he just had these 2 chords that I remembered from it. So I borrowed like a piece of it, and we just did that in his basement one day. And I was just like, you mind if I use that idea from Jane for like this thing? And like I played him like the beat, and then like it was just another stone moment. So yeah, Stryder broke up, and me and Peter still kind of stuck together.
Yes,
but not initially, because when that happened, like, you know, I felt like, you know, like I was like a betrayal, and then I wasn't really hanging out with them. And then what happened was my mom passed back in like 2005. Mm-hmm. And they got wind of that, and that kind of like brought us back together. You know what I mean?
See.
Like, no amount of beef is gonna like, you know, not prevent you from reaching out. So like once
100%.
he did that, I was like, oh, my old friend is back. So like, yeah, we that happened, and then we decided we wanted to be a thing again because like we missed each other, and it was like, you know, yeah, I've been trying to do this solo shit and or whatever, and we just wasn't really working. So we're like, all right, we're gonna do this thing called Jungle City in honor of the last album, and we were gonna be this kind of like Pharrell and Chad Hugo thing. We're gonna be like a production thing, but just as like a 2-piece. I don't know but again, this was like heavily influenced by marijuana, but like we were gonna do this 2-piece thing called Jungle City, and Trickster was one of the first songs we wrote.
If I
That one, I like that one. That was, I mean, it was very different, much like going from Masquerade to Jungle City, but I just remember it just stuck with me. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was a beat. I don't know. I loved it. It was great.
Yeah, it was just magical how it came. Peter had this bamboo flutish type of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called, but he was playing it, and we were like, "Whoa, that sounds dope. Let's record that." And then he did that, and then I just started playing like these just like little tinkly guitars, and then we put the chorus together, and like the bass line came out of nowhere. It was just like me and Peter had this weird synergy where it was just like we just knew where to go. Like if Peter came with an idea, I knew how to complement that idea, and vice versa. Like we just knew how to fill each other's space.
Right.
Peter's like was like my favorite writing partner.
I would say to kind of put a bow on Stryder before we move into some of your next stuff. Do you still keep in touch with Peter? Are you guys cool or?
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, we're in a group chat. Me, Peter, and our friend Mikey, who used to come on tour with us. Yeah, we text and we talk, and I follow him on Instagram.
Nice.
And, yeah,
and he's
we're all good.
Is he still doing music? Is he still in that world?
Peter. A couple years ago, Peter put out a couple songs, and they were good. It's Peter. Like if you're a fan of Peter Toh, like you know what to expect. But it was different. Like I think he did he pitched his voice up like a bunch of octaves. Like but it was like the songs were like amazing, and Peter. I forget what you initially asked, but
I was just asking if you guys had kept in touch and if he was still doing music at this point.
Yeah, I'm in touch with those guys. I was just talking to Nick on the phone the other day. I see John online all the time.
Yeah, I saw him on Instagram. He commented on that photo I posted. He's like, "I'm so excited for this podcast," because I mentioned that I was going to be doing this podcast, and he's like, "I'm so excited for this."
Who, John said that?
Yeah, he said that. Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah.
John,
I will forever love John. John is a special guy, man, and he is part of my life and crucial special times.
He'll always be JJ Stryder to me. That was his old AOL screen name.
Yes, JJ Stryder. Wow. Yeah.
So
that's my guy.
So after Stryder, is Cassanova Brown the next thing, or is there stuff in between?
So after Stryder, then me and Peter did that Jungle City thing.
Yep.
We actually did like a 4-song EP that we distributed like amongst friends. Like I'll never forget. We did like the recordings. Then we had a big listening party at his house, and we gave out the demo. And then that kind of died down, and that's when then Cassanova Brown happened after that.
Yeah, so I found out that you actually worked with an old buddy of mine, Alan, a drummer, Alan. He played for a band, Hence
Alan
Reverie.
Spicer.
Yeah.
Hence Reverie.
I love that fucking band, dude.
Yeah.
They
Hence
broke
Reverie,
up.
Yeah, they did. But I started doing the Cassanova Brown thing, and I can't say how. No, okay, yes, I can. So I did that stuff, and I don't know how I found this kid Anthony, but this kid Anthony was a guitar player. I was like trying to put together like a band to play live.
Yep. And
I started talking to this kid Anthony from South Jersey, and I went out and stayed with him for a weekend, and we were just trying to see if like this was going to be a thing. And he was friends with Alan.
Okay.
And he introduced me to Alan, and we hung out, and he knew me from like the old band. They knew me from like the old band.
Oh, he loves Stryder. He was a big fan.
Dude, and he's so sick.
Yes.
He's such a good drummer. And yeah. Turns out South Jersey has like this nest of just like musicians. And it's crazy because like Anthony, like he doesn't do music. He's not serious like about music.
Yeah.
But just him fooling around the guitar, like the shit that he fools around with is sick. He had a bunch of friends who were all sick. Alan introduced me to this kid, Mike, who is like one of the smartest people I've ever met. Michael McCaffrey. He ended up playing guitar for me. But yeah, South Jersey just has like the sickest musicians.
There's something in the water down there.
Something. As you leave New York and go south, like you'll meet the coolest people.
Yeah, I remember. God damn, this would have been 2004 when I met Hence Reverie, and my cousin and I, a different cousin, this guy Jimmy, we tried our hand at booking shows. Big mistake, because we loved touring acts and never booked enough local acts, and so very few people showed up. But I remember we booked Days Like These. They were a Lobster Records band. Yeah, I
remember Days Like These.
Yeah,
I remember Lobster Records.
Yeah. Who
else was on Lobster Records?
Small Victory, Staring Back, Over It, Whippersnapper.
No, but Dynamite Boy.
Dynamite Boy
was on Lobster Records, right?
I think so.
That's who we toured with. We toured with Dynamite Boy and another band, Punch, something with the name Punch in the band in the title.
Punchline?
But I remember Lobster Records. No,
not Punchline.
No, they had a girl singer. It wasn't Punchline, but it was something with Punch in the band. But yeah, I remember Lobster Records.
Yeah. So we booked Days Like These, and we became kind of like buddies with them, and they invited us up before they went on Warped Tour. They said, hey, we're having this get together at, I think, the guitar player's backyard. He had this big ass backyard in South Jersey, and they're like, we're going to play a set. And the band that opened for them was Hence Reverie. And I remember seeing them play. They had so much fucking energy. I mean, they were just like, nobody outside of South Jersey, I think, had even heard of these guys. And they had so much energy. And I looked at my cousin. I said, we need to book them on our next show. And we became friends because we booked them. They'd come down to Virginia. They'd stay at our house. And that's how I met Alan and all those guys. And I remember they would always talk about Stryder. They would talk about Over It. And there was a couple of other bands, but definitely Stryder for sure came up.
We just had these weird pockets and up and down the East Coast where like we really just clicked with certain areas. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
They got we got them and they got us. So South Jersey was one of them, and yeah, Alan, sweetheart of a guy, love him.
I don't know how I came across Cassanova Brown unless it was just something you shared on Facebook. It's probably what happened.
Might have been, yeah. I think because I started posting up stuff from like MySpace to Facebook.
Yeah.
Like I was posting Cassanova Brown stuff from MySpace.
Is that stuff even out online? Because I feel like when we're talking about this, people need to hear some of this shit. Is it still out there?
It is, yeah. And if I can totally email you some stuff.
I have a couple of them, but the one that always sticks with me is that one's like "Lie to Me."
Yeah.
So I believe. I love
that.
Yeah,
that song's called Brown Goat.
Brown Goat. Yeah.
So sweet. Promise me that you won't sing, but I bet like Latina used to sing.
Yeah. That I heard that and I was like, that's Scottie. That's my man Scottie right there.
That's just me trying.
That was some good shit. That guitar lead.
Yeah, it's funny. So that guitar lead comes from so when I first reconnected with Peter was doing like he moved to Queens.
Yeah.
And he was working on his solo stuff, but he was also doing some outside production. And he was doing production for this band called Cat Power. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but he had a song and he had a beat and it was totally sick. I think Cat Power is one person. It might be a band or it might be one person. But it needed a lead. And so that lead from that band was from that song was initially for that song. Never came out. So then I took it for my thing and just wrote that out in Queens. Remember I did that song literally in one night in Queens just from being around Peter. You just being around certain people, like it just it brings that out of you.
Yeah, that was a good one. I mean, that whole thing, because I think you released like 4 or 5 songs at that time or something to that effect.
Yeah, I did. I put out a bunch of shit.
And so what did you end up doing with that? I mean, was that something, I know you said you were trying to build a band. Did you actually go out and do shows with that, or did it never get that far? Or?
So yeah, there's some recordings. It's actually like, if you go on my Facebook and like, I don't know if they let you, but like if you scroll back a couple years, I posted one of the few shows that I did in South Jersey with that band. But I tried to do it's weird. Like I was doing, we did a couple shows in South Jersey, and then we ended up playing this place called Club Chrome in South Jersey, and we played. I forget. We played with some big band. I forget, but she paid me like $3, but told someone else that she gave me like $300, and like I pocketed all the money.
Oh boy!
So then like that, yeah, like it was this weird thing. So but like that incident broke up that band, but so that was like a discouraging thing. So that the Cassanova Brown thing kind of died down. Then I started playing in this group with my cousin called Teachers.
Okay, yeah. What was that about?
Yeah, Teachers was this thing that so he used to be in a band called The Exit. They broke up.
I remember The Exit. Yeah.
Yeah. Stryder, we did a couple shows with them back in the day, but they broke up, and he had a bunch of songs that were going to be new Exit songs that he brought over from Teachers, and so I joined that. I'm still technically in it. We're not broken up or anything. We just haven't been doing much, but yeah. I remember the Cass Brown thing kind of died down. Like as far as me like trying to like pursue like a solo type of thing.
Sure. And so you're still you're still associated with this Teachers project. Is that kind of where your music is right now? Like that's pretty much the only thing that you've got going on in terms of music, or?
So it's the Teachers thing is kind of weird because like Teachers has like about 80 songs and about 20 videos, none of which has come out. Why I don't know. I don't know, but like Teachers has a lot of stuff that just nobody knows about. So what happened with me and like writing songs is that it's weird. I don't know if I guess I can say I've been dealing with writer's block.
Yeah.
Like whereas like I didn't used to think so much, and I didn't used to be so influenced. I wasn't so aware of my influences. Like now I just overthink everything. I'm like
nothing's ever good enough, pretty much.
Right. Yeah. Nothing is ever good enough. Seriously.
Yeah.
Seriously. That's where I'm at.
What were you doing with the Teachers? Were you playing like guitar, singing, drums? What were you doing for them?
Well, I sing Teachers. I wrote a bunch of stuff for Teachers. But as far as recordings, I've only done keyboards and drums and vocals as far as what I'm doing on the recordings.
Right.
Ben handles a lot of the guitars. We had this other wizard, this guy named Gray McMurray, who like I've never seen anybody play guitar like that. And another guy named Matt Krantz, who's sick, and Steve Borth. He used to be in a band called RX Bandits.
Oh yeah. RX Bandits, yeah. Drive Through. Yeah, they were Drive Through band.
There you go. So like that we'll never not be connected from like that era. You know what I mean? Like there's always something that ties us back.
Yeah, I think you'll find your way though back. I mean, you might be going through writer's block now, but it comes around at some point.
Well, that's the thing. I still call myself a musician, and like Teachers. Our last show was like a big festival out in Serbia with like what are they called? Ray Shremmerd and like what's that? And Halsey. So like,
oh wow,
I still do music. You know what I mean? It's just like as far as my own thing, like I'm just more. Whereas where I thought like I didn't think so much. Like I'm just more hesitant to put it out. You know what I mean? So
sure.
I still got ideas, man. Music will always be me.
Yeah.
You know?
And we still got this Stryder reunion somewhere in the canister here. Somewhere. Might be lurking.
Somewhere. Somewhere. I don't know. Peter had a good point when he was like, it's just hard for me to sing those lyrics being this old. You know what I mean? Like,
sure. I'll tell you what though, if that ever came to it, if you guys ever did a show, I think it'd be an immediate sellout. I don't have any question about that.
That'd be great. But I think, yeah.
Now, how would you do it though? Would you do it with John, or would you do it the lineup that you guys broke up as?
If I were to do it like in my mind, I would do two different shows with the two different eras.
Okay, yeah, you could do like one night Masquerade.
Yeah, and then I would do the other one playing guitar, but like I would actually like do like the original lineup, like play drums and then jungle.
That'd be dope as hell, man.
It would, but I think like it's only big in our minds. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Dude, I put out that video on YouTube. That thing's like over 1,000 views. I mean, now I know that may not sound like a lot to a lot of people.
dude, that's a lot. That sounds like a lot to me. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
a lot to me. Like, wow.
That's
awesome.
When you think about it, and I study a lot of social media, and that's kind of what I'm really wrapped into right now as far as putting out a podcast and vlogs. That's 1,000 people that are searching for Stryder. They want,
exactly.
They're seeking it out. Rather it's old fans that remember or new people that somehow stumbled upon it. There are people that are searching for that.
And that's humbling. You know what I mean? Like, I agree. Like, there are those 1,000 people remember. You know what I mean? Like,
and if you
awesome.
Google it, unfortunately, the only thing really there's like a non-active like Equal Vision page that just has links to buy the records. There's really not like a whole lot there. Like, you would think that any alumni artists you had, maybe you put up a few, some videos, some MP3s, like clickable players right there, but it's just, here's the album art, and you have to like click around to find the shit.
My sentiments exactly, but now since I dredge up all these memories, there's a reason for that. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, yeah, I guess we were just those knuckleheads that like just thought they knew everything. You know what I mean? Like,
sure,
we know what's good for the band. Switching out our lead singer, trust us, we know what we're doing. You know what I mean? Like, we just didn't know that like when you do decisions like that, like, when people expect you to play drums, like they're like, yo, Scottie plays drums for that band.
Yep.
And then they hear Scottie's playing guitar now. Like, what? You know what I mean? Like, John's not the singer anymore. Like, what? You know what I mean? So it's just like, we didn't realize that like that affects not just us. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
It affects people's perception of us. It was ambitious, but yeah, it's hard to explain, but
Now, you mentioned earlier that you ended up in Florida. How the hell did you get down to Florida? You were in New York, obviously, for so long.
Yeah, the Florida thing was something more with my girl. She had gotten a job opportunity.
Oh, cool.
That was down here, and
so you met her in New York or in that area, and you guys moved to Florida.
Actually, I met her when I was auditioning that kid Anthony.
Yeah.
For my Casanova thing. So she lived in Anthony's house.
Okay.
At the time.
Yeah.
And I just remember being asleep, and I remember seeing her coming down the steps, and I was just like, whoa, who's that girl? Whatever. But she was living there. She was his sister's friend, and she had a boyfriend at the time. And so I was like, oh, okay, whatever. But she had contacted me sometime after the fact, and we just always stayed in touch, and the rest, as they say, is history. But yeah, I met her doing the Cassanova Brown thing.
Nice. And how do you like Florida compared to New York?
Well, I'm always going to be a New Yorker.
Yeah.
Completely two different worlds. I didn't take into account like how much clothes I'm not going to be able to wear down here. Like, yeah, but I love Florida. It's cool. It's very chill. But I just miss home. I'll always miss where I'm from.
Of course, yeah.
But it's chill down here.
Yeah. Well,
Cool.
I think we've really said it all here tonight for sure. 2 hours of some epic conversation.
Has it been 2 hours?
Yeah.
Holy shit. 2 hours. 2 hours almost to the T.
Almost to the T. I guess we'll close on this. What is next for Scottie? What's next for you?
What's next for me is I want to get into music production, as far as just like helping other musicians or other acts,
sure,
with their ideas or whatever, just trying to like actually start, like, I don't know if it's going to be a production company or whatever, but that's what I want to get into. I want to like, help write.
Yes.
And that type of thing.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll end on this. I think about, how talented I know you are, and also Chris, our friend. I would love to see the two of you guys collaborate on something.
Dude, I want to say this. I'll never forget the first time I saw Chris play drums.
Yeah.
He was, this is when Durjiah was in the band. He sat down behind Durjiah's drum set, and I noticed he was also...
It was at the sidebar.
at the sidebar. And
Yep.
He plays goofy as well. And I said, I'm so glad I don't play drums anymore because he scares me. Like, just going back to, I don't know if you know this, but drums is a very competitive, it's a very competitive instrument. It's almost like people with cars. Like, people, like, I look at drum sets like how people look at another guy's car, like, oh, you got the nice DW over there, huh? You know, like you kick it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You inspect it and all that. But yeah, I remember he sat down behind that drum set and just started playing. Like, I think Durjiah had a double pedal at the time.
Yeah.
And I had no idea how good Chris was, but I was like, I'm so glad I don't play drums anymore. Like, Chris scares me. He's super talented.
Larry and I looked over as we saw it. We're like, oh man, don't tell me he's getting behind that man's kit. And
No, Durjiah was all for it. Durjiah was like, yeah.
I don't know if,
Super
I don't know how
talented.
much of Chris's stuff you heard because he's doing a lot of solo stuff now. He's got like some R&B pop stuff, which is really good.
I think I did hear some of that. I think he did. I think if he didn't play it for me, I think he might have posted it and I played it. But yeah,
right. That's legit. And then there was a band he was in called Pictures and Pieces, which is more that rock stuff. And that
I saw that video you posted. I had no idea that band existed, but that they were fucking sick, and that was a fucking huge show. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Look on.
holy shit.
You have Apple Music or Spotify or some shit.
I have Apple Music.
Okay. Look up. Well, I'll just text it to you because I have your number now. I'll send it to you on Apple. You know, you can share albums. This album, it's called Line of Sight, and it, to me, I thought it was criminal that nobody ever heard this record. Like, no one ever heard this record. It got put out, and it was just at a time where they just had a lot of stuff going on. We talk about it in the podcast that I did with him that's coming out next week. But I'll send it to you, dude, and give me your honest opinion what you think about it. I think it's so legit.
Cool.
Well, dude, I first of all, I'll close on this. I appreciate your time. 2 hours is no easy feat.
It's not.
We both got work in the morning, I'm sure.
Yes.
So I just want to thank you so much. I'm glad that we connected on this and talked all this stuff out. And if you have anything that you want the people to check out, any social media or anything, now's the time to plug it.
I mean, I don't really have anything set up yet, but you can always look me up on Instagram. I think my name is Scottie Redix or something like that.
I'm gonna find you because that's where I hang out primarily. It's Instagram.
Yeah, I think it's Scottie Redx, like no I, just Redx.
Okay.
But yeah, just there. And I just want to say that, like, it's been an honor talking to you tonight, and I want to give you big props because I see the stuff that you post and, like, dude, like, to be crushing it how you're doing it as far as, like, with your goals and, like, losing all that weight, dude. I just want to congratulate you. And
thank you.
Want to just make sure you keep doing that, man. Keep killing it because it inspires. You know what I mean? Like,
that's what I hope to do. I hope
man.
that's all I can hope is sharing my story in hopes to inspire other people. Not that you needed looking good. I remember you used to flex and stuff. I see the muscles playing them drums.
I don't flex no more, man. But seeing you, it wants me to start flexing again. You know what I mean? So yeah.
My man. Well, dude, man. I am so glad we did this. Don't be a stranger.
Likewise, bro.
Let's not wait 17 more years to chat. This has been a hell of a
chat. I know,
right?
Yeah, man. It's been an honor. And just thank you for having me.
Remember at the beginning of the show, I mentioned a little thing called Patreon? Well, I'd love to have you join me. But Gary, what is Patreon? It's a website that is helping small creators like me raise funds to further expand their creative visions. For as low as $1 a month, you can help me further my dream of reaching as many people as possible and eventually taking the show on the road to meet all these fine people face to face and add a video element to this podcast. If you were to donate $4 a month, you'd be hearing this show a few days earlier with no commercials and getting access to my close friends group on Instagram. Donate $10 a month and you get all that plus your name right at the beginning of the show alongside other producers. But act fast. That tier is limited to 10 people. I've got a whole lot more to offer and you can get all the details over at patreon.com/Gary Cantrell. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you. Thanks so much for checking out the show and I'll talk to you again really soon. hardworkalwayswins.com. It's more than just a clothing line. It's my mantra. I speak it, I wear it, I live it, and I'd love to have you join the Hard Work Squad. We're constantly adding new items to the store, including our brand new Future-ish hats, which come in a variety of colors, including camo. I mean, who doesn't like camo? We also just put our famous Splash logo in gold to match our OG logo, and there's so much more here. You just got to check it out. Here's the best part. Use the code PODCAST at checkout to take 10% off of your very first order and join the Hard Work Squad today.